If, like me, you've grown up in India or a similar country, then you couldn't help but feel the need for choice, for variety, for more products on the market, more products that were homegrown so you didn't have to import them from other countries at exorbitant costs. Fast forward 10 or 20 years and now we make a whole bunch of things in-house. Not everything though. There's so much we still don't make. Computers, computer parts, microelectronics, smartphones, not really, and audiophile headphones, not at all. That is, until now. This is the Altiat Caliber 1H, India's first dynamic driver headphone, sort of. See, the driver inside, I've been told, is sourced from a company in Taiwan, but everything around that, the tuning of that driver, the housing, the construction, the design, the quality control, everything is done in-house in India, and to me, that is made in India. Now, it comes in an unassuming little cardboard box with some foam in it and some literature, but also, get the audacity, a poster, which I think is a little bit of marketing genius, because if you've made India's first dynamic driver headphone, then one way or the other, you're part of history, and who doesn't want that poster? Now, take the headphones out and the first thing you notice is the sheer heft of it. This thing weighs in at 450 grams, which for a pair of consumer headphones might seem like a lot, but in the audiophile world, it's not that far off the mark really, especially considering the almost complete metal construction. The headband is 2 strips of metal. The arm connecting the headband to the ear cup, metal. The ear cups themselves are each a solid block of aluminium, and the mesh that makes it an open back headphone also made of metal and held in place by 4 metal screws with the name Caliber 1H engraved like the chassis of a freight train. I mean, this thing has a solid, no-nonsense industrial build quality. But they do try to soften the blow a little bit though. From the slim design of the arm connecting the headband to the ear cup to that satin finish paint that makes it quite hard to convey the color over the camera, although I can tell you it is quite nice. To the sweeping lines and curves that have been CNC milled into that unibody aluminium, the combination of these design choices serve to make this, well, distinctive. This is definitely not just another headphone that's been molded from plastic, and I like it. Now, on closer inspection, you can definitely see that it's not come off a mass production line. It's more of a boutique manufacturing unit, especially in terms of the finish if you look closely, but I think it's still done quite well. Although I will say that paint is probably going to come off eventually. It feels like it's going to chip and wear out immediately, just as it has already started with the headband. But I don't mind that. I think it'll end up looking like a tool that's been built to a purpose and is used for that unabashedly and has gathered some scars along the way. Now, from a comfort point of view, that leather headband does a surprisingly good job of distributing the weight, and it ends up being a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be. But over a few hours of usage, you definitely do feel that weight. Now, to that extent, you can get this in the wood trim, which shaves off, I believe, about 200 to 220 grams off the weight. That brings it more in line with your average consumer headphone and will probably be really good for certain use cases that we'll talk about in just a minute. In terms of adjustment, you've got height adjustment, but it is only friction locked, and that means that over time, if you adjust it a lot, it could loosen up, and off the bat, it can be a little bit finicky to find the exact middle point for your head, though once you set it, in the 3 months that I've used it, it hasn't come loose at all. The main issue I have with the height adjustment is the lack of travel. There is some travel, but it's not as much as, say, my Sennheiser HD6X's, and therefore, I think if you have a larger noggin, you might have a little bit of trouble. The ear cups themselves do tilt in and out, but that is the only axis of articulation, and I think that might be a little bit of an oversight in terms of sheer comfort. Still though, it comes with velour ear cups, which I think are really nice, although you can opt for Alcantara for a little bit more comfort still. And while you're at it, you can choose from a range of rather stunning colors, as well as that wood finish I spoke about, and you can choose a suitable wire termination. It's mini XLRs from the headphone, and the other end, in my case, is a 3.5mm jack. So in this trim, the the scarlet color with the velour pads and the 3.5mm jack, it comes to about $450 shipped to Dubai. That is not inexpensive, but it might end up saving you a little bit of money because these are, I believe, a 37 ohm load, which means they can be run to pretty good volumes using pretty much anything. Now, when it comes to the sound, despite the fact that they can be run off of pretty much anything, I do think they benefit from an external DAC amp combo. At least it did make a difference to my ears compared with my MacBook Pro's headphone jack. Now, when you first put these on, there are three things you realize. Number one is soundstage. This has a surprisingly wide soundstage, which actually is quite a bit three-dimensional as well. That combined with pretty decent imaging makes for a really nice movie watching experience and a surprisingly good gaming experience. I've been using these for the past 3 months playing Apex Legends, a popular esports title for science, of course, and this has become my go-to headset for gaming because it's just that good an experience. The second thing you notice is the bass response. Now, mid-bass, where drum beats exist, sound a little bit hollow. And sub-bass, although there is some extension, could do with a little bit of EQ, but even so, they give the distinct impression that they're not capable of digging down really deep. They don't do justice to things like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack or anything from Massive Attack for that matter. And the third thing you notice is the upper mids. It's definitely a little bit recessed, a little bit lower in the mix than I would prefer. The thing is, a combination of those recessed upper mids, the lack of punch and slam in the mid bass, and the lack of digging down deep in the sub bass make this a little bit of an unengaging experience straight out of the box, at least in my subjective opinion. Having said that, just a little bit of EQ makes them really come alive. In terms of detail and resolution, they're actually quite decent. They're not the last word, they're not amongst the best in the market or anything, but I think they're really quite decent and they do tend to hold their own. Now, whether all of that is worth your $450 or not is something that you'd have to decide, but here's what you do get for your money. You get a pair of headphones that have been built like tanks. They seem to have been built to last a long time, and they seem to have been constructed in such a way so as to facilitate repair with relative ease. Now, I actually reached out to them. I asked them if I could get their wooden ear cups separately and put them on myself. They said they'd be happy to ship me those at cost and also send me instructions for disassembling and reassembling the headphones with those wooden ear cups. I guess that's the kind of customer service you can have when you're communicating with a smaller company. You also get a pair of headphones that do surprisingly well for movie watching as well as gaming. Combine that with the wood ear cups and you've got a lightweight gaming headset that I think might be better than anything else I've actually used so far. And finally, while music listening is a little bit unengaging out of the box, at least in my subjective opinion, I think that can be spruced up with just a little bit of EQ, at which point they really do sing, and you'll probably not think about buying another pair of headphones for a little while at least. Is the Caliber 1H perfect? No. But I do think it's a very good first showing. I think it's built well. I think it definitely does certain things well enough that it holds its own in the audiophile landscape, and that, for a company's first product, pretty good first showing. Makes me wonder what they're about to do next. But till that time, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.